So we saw the return to the court for Joel Embiid this past Tuesday night for the first time since January 30th, and despite Embiid not having an efficient first game back, the 76ers still beat the team that entered the night with the best record in the West, the OKC Thunder. This game told us a lot about the 76ers playoff chances though, and today we're going to go over why nobody in the East wants to play this 76ers team in the first round. If you guys enjoyed the video though, then I'd appreciate it if you give it a like, and if you're new to the channel, then I'd appreciate if you hit the subscribe button as well. So looking at the box score from Embiid's first game back, I'd say it was a pretty solid performance from Embiid, despite his few inefficiencies, most notably his below normal shooting performance. Embiid was just one of 3 Sixers players to have a negative plus-minus rating for the night, yet the team was still able to knock off one of the top teams in the NBA. I think a big reason for this was the defense of Joel Embiid, most notably on this OKC possession that essentially clinched the game for the Sixers, but also the fact that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Jalen Williams missed Tuesday night's game versus the Sixers. Those are 2 very important players, if not 2 of the most important players for OKC to be without, and it does put a bit of an asterisk on this Sixers win. However, I will say the Sixers were without an extremely important player of their own in Tyrese Maxey, who missed the game with left hip tightness. While the Sixers have a positive net rating of plus 3.75 when Embiid is on the court this season without Maxey, the team's net rating jumps to a great plus 11.0 rating when both men share the court together. Maxey is a top 5 point guard in the East this season, that goes without saying, and anytime you lose him, it's going to hurt. So while I think the loss of SGA and Jalen Williams hurt the OKC Thunder more than the loss of Maxey hurt the Sixers, I will say Maxey and Embiid have a higher net rating when sharing the court together than Jalen Williams and SGA do, so I'll just leave that stat there for you. Following Tuesday night's victory, the Sixers maintain their place as the East's 8th seed and will try to climb out of the play-in tournament into a guaranteed playoff spot over their final 6 games if they can finish the season with a top 6 seed. Looking at remaining strength of schedule for all of the league's teams, the Sixers have the easiest remaining schedule in the NBA, while the 2 main teams they can hop over, the Heat and the Pacers, have harder schedules, with the Heat having the 9th easiest remaining schedule and the Pacers sitting in the direct middle of the league difficulty-wise. While it might be a bit of a long shot, the Sixers possibly hopping over the 5th-seeded Knicks is still a possibility as well, as the Knicks have the 6th hardest remaining schedule in the league, as they'll face teams such as Boston, Milwaukee, and Sacramento. With the Heat playing the Pacers once, and the Sixers having to play the Heat once themselves, all bets are still on the table as far as playoff seeding goes. Looking at the Sixers' play-in tournament matchups or potential first-round matchups though, I think there is a lot to like if you're a Sixers fan or simply just rooting for the team. One of the main reasons is the gravity of Joel Embiid's game offensively. If we look at the 3-point percentages of Joel Embiid's teammates with versus without him, the numbers are pretty great to see if you're a Sixers fan or just rooting for the team. Tyrese Maxey has shot 34.5% from deep without Embiid on the court this season versus a percentage of 40 right on the dot with Embiid on the court with him. Kelly Oubre has excelled from downtown in Embiid's presence as well, as without Embiid, Oubre has shot a percentage of 27.8% from deep versus a tremendous 38.1% shooting percentage from downtown with Embiid on the court with him. Nick Batum's difference is one of the most important in my eyes, as he can be an absolute sleeper and X-factor for this Sixers team come playoff time. Without Embiid, Batum has shot 37.6% from downtown, but with Embiid, he shot a great 46.2% from deep, which is incredible to see from him. Lastly, let's touch on one of Philly's most important pieces and starters, Tobias Harris. While without Embiid, Harris has shot 31.5% from deep, with Embiid, Harris's percentage has jumped up to 37.3% from downtown, which of course is a great shooting percentage, and especially with the fact that Harris has attempted 3.7 3-pointers a game this season. On top of that, the 76ers have shot a 3-point percentage of 34.8% when Embiid isn't on the court this season versus a shooting percentage of 38.1% from 3 when Embiid is on the court for them this season. So clearly, Embiid's own shooting as well as the gravity of his game and the effect it has on his teammates will be huge for the Sixers' playoff chances, especially with the great flashes of play we saw out of the 2-man game of Embiid and trade deadline pickup Buddy Hield in their first game together on Tuesday night. Now, in a hypothetical where the Sixers play the Pacers in a play-in game, those great 3-point numbers definitely benefit the Sixers. As while the Pacers have allowed the least amount of threes from their opponents per game this season, they also are allowing their opponents to shoot the 14th highest percentage from behind the 3-point line. And while the Pacers have shot the 9th best percentage from behind the 3-point line this season, the Sixers have forced their opponents to shoot the 6th worst percentage from behind the arc. With the Pacers attempting more three-pointers per game than the Sixers, I think these stats only hurt the Pacers if they were to play the Sixers and could spell trouble for the Pacers' chances of grabbing the 7th seed if they fall into the play-in tournament. Now, while the Heat and Knicks thrive on defense and have been two of the best defensive teams in the NBA this season, with the Heat having the 5th best defensive rating for the season and the Knicks having the 8th best defensive rating, I'd say still don't sleep on the Sixers' chances against one of those teams either. Reason why? Well, despite the Sixers having the 12th best defensive rating, which still is pretty solid, the Sixers actually have a defensive rating of 109.6 in games that Joel Embiid has played in for them this season, which would be good enough to give them the 2nd best rating in the entire league if Embiid were to play in every game for them. And even if he had just missed a few games for them this season, I'm sure their rating could have still been a top 3 or top 5 rating if Embiid had only missed somewhere in the 10 to 12 game range rather than the 41 that he's missed for them this season. So with the fact that the Sixers have a top 2 defense in the NBA with Embiid on the court for them, and the fact that their players excel from downtown with him on the court, I would say that the Sixers can cause some problems for some of the top seeds in the NBA playoffs this season. While I don't believe the Sixers could beat the Celtics in a first-round series, and I'm not sure if they'd beat the Bucks or Cavs, they can very easily cause problems for those teams in the first round, as the Sixers had the 4th best record in the East prior to Embiid's injury, and I think a series that goes possibly 6 or 7 games is the last thing one of those top seeds in the East want, especially with the fact that the Sixers are talented enough to pull off the upset. While I think a Magic versus Sixers first round series is a long shot, that is definitely a series that the Sixers can win if it were to happen, and they might even be the team that is favored if it does. So while the Sixers got their work cut out for them, the return of Joel Embiid should excite Sixers fans and scare opposing teams and their fans for what could come in a potential series versus the Sixers. I want to know in the comments what you think about the Philadelphia 76ers, how Joel Embiid changes the landscape of the 2024 playoffs, or anything relating to the topics we talked about today down below. Of course, if you enjoyed the video, then make sure to give it a like. I'd appreciate it a lot, and subscribe if you're new to the channel. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I am out.